resale industry are extremely accomplished speakers. You can tell that because of how we introduce ourselves here today. So we're going to talk about do as we do, as we say, not as we do, about talking in front of the public.
Well, I will say to you, Kate, actually, that when you do live videos like we do every day, it is a whole different kind of caliber, a different animal than actually public speaking. So I do dial it down. When I first started doing my live videos, I realized I had to dial it down and become more personable and real and relatable. You should be all those things when you're public speaking as well, but it's a different. So.
And that's the first point that I've got on my little list here of things to talk about, is that you need to first consider your audience. You know, whether it's on live video that you're talking to friends, whether it's talking to a banker to get a line of credit, whether it's giving a fashion show, talking at NARTS, whatever it is, consider your audience. Make sure that you're comfortable with that audience. You obviously would work differently if you're sitting there talking to a banker than you would as we are doing here right today. So that's point number one about public speaking. Consider your audience.
That's a great point, because the toughest audience that I speak to on a regular basis is every year I get asked to teach about a 2 to 3 hour interactive course to our Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce junior studies. And so it's high school kids. And oh my gosh, if you really want to put your teaching or your public speaking skills to the test, go and speak to some high school kids, because it's crazy. It's so totally different. But yes, know your audience, know the jargon. But even when you are talking about jargon, there may be a lot of people in your audience who are new to the industry and don't know all of the jargon. So, but yes, absolutely 100% know your audience. What else you got, Kate?
What else have I got? You need to remember that you're talking, you're not writing. For example, if you're giving a fashion show and you've got your little cards there and, you know, the lady's parading down the runway in one of your great outfits, you might be tempted to read what you wrote, such as, "Oh, this stunning crepe de chine cocktail dress will waft you into the country club terrace with a great flair of sociability and fashionability." But you're not going to say that in real life. So remember, when you're figuring out what you're going to be talking to people, that you're talking, you're not writing. There are phrases that you can use in writing that sound absolutely ridiculous in talking. There are no semicolons when you talk, that kind of thing. So remember that too when you're deciding what you're going to say to whom. Colleen?
That's really great advice. I want to give a couple shout outs. Tiffany, Perry, and Cindy, and Jody, good morning, everyone. Good morning. And if you're on and watching, just give us a quick shout out. If you have any questions, please let us know. Okay, so another really great tip is take a moment to get in front of the room and take a breath, like before you start speaking. And ideally, if you can get in your room or get in your space before anyone else gets in there, that's a really, really good idea. Show up a little bit early, get into your space, and just sort of take a moment and look around your space and kind of make it your own. So feel that you are just filling up the room and you own the room, a safe place, and it gives you a little bit more of a relaxed feeling and a little bit more ownership of the room, and not that you're anxious and nervous in then this new environment. If you don't have the opportunity to get in your room, sometimes at conferences you're right on the heels of another speaker, just go into the room and remember that you're in control and the audience isn't, but you're in control, and take a few minutes. And even if you want to engage the audience, this is a really great thing. If you want to have everyone stand up and take a deep breath with you, if you want to have everyone do some jumping jacks with you, Tony Robbins does this, and many, many great speakers do this. I actually do this, although no one ever sees me do it. But I actually do a whole bunch of jumping jacks, and I run in place, and I do these things to actually get my adrenaline flowing, and it really, really makes a difference. It brings this natural energy into the room, and you feel all pumped up because your blood is flowing and your energy is flowing. So really, really great speaker pro tip right there. Kate, what do you got? What else you got?
Along with feeling pumped up and getting that energy and that adrenaline going, remember that you need to focus on the audience and not yourself. And what that means is that you need to be actually physically comfortable. Make sure the clothes that you're wearing allow you to move, allow you to wave your arms about, allow you, if need be, to squat down and pick up your notes that you dropped on the floor. And there's one more note about clothes that I learned from Adele Meyer at the conference, and that is if you are using a lavalier mic, the kind of mic that clips onto your clothes, remember that a lavalier comes with a battery pack, and that battery pack needs to be attached to your body. Therefore, you need to wear something that ideally you can take that battery pack and clip it on the back and the small of your back there. So you need ideally to be wearing something that has a belt on it. You need to take off any clangy jewelry, that kind of a thing too. So be aware that if you are using a lavalier mic, there may be outfits that you are very comfortable in and you love, but that won't work with the mic. So choose your
That
outfit.
is a really great point, and I think a lot of women who've ever done public speaking and used the lavalier battery pack, I'm sure we all have a story. I have a story. Wore a dress, went, oh crap, what do I do with this thing? I tried to hook it on my Spanx actually for a little while. Had it on my Spanx because that's all I had. So thankfully I had Spanx on, because can you imagine like hooking it just onto your, undies? Not a good scene. So anyway, yes, like I think at the end I ended up having to just hold it in my hand. So you've got your lavalier in one hand, you've got your remote control in the other hand. But yes, that is a really, really, really good point. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I also want to encourage you to slow down when you're talking, and a couple of things. Number one, make eye contact with individuals. Actually look them in the eye. It really engages your audience. And remember to look back and look at people in the back row and look at people in the front row and the middle rows, and really look at them when you're talking, because that helps them feel engaged, and it helps you feel like you're talking to individuals instead of just this massive group of people. And the other thing is to take a break, take a breath, and pause. And when you pause, just take a breath. Try to avoid those words like and ah, and a few of those other filler words that we use. When you feel the urge to say an or an ah, that is just like a natural nervousness that's coming out. Really and truly try to take a pause and take a little breath, and your audience doesn't notice it. So you feel like there's this dead airspace, but it's really not dead airspace. It's really just good to take a pause, and it keeps your audience attentive, if that makes sense.
Wonderful point. I think you and I are working from the same playlist here, because I want to tell my story about ums. I was doing a play, and I was obviously using lines that were memorized, but I kept on putting that in there. And finally, the director sat in the audience of the theater, and she clicked her fingers every time I said And that reminded me of how often I do it, and also where I was usually going to be doing it. So of course you don't want somebody in your audience clicking your fingers while you're talking, but I love, Colleen, the idea of when you feel like you're going to say something like substitute a breath. Because
yes.
that breath that you're taking, first of all, calms you down. Second of all, that pause that people don't notice, as Colleen said, that pause allows them to digest what you've been saying. If you don't give them time to, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, Or if you're in an actual conference setting, like Colleen and I are looking forward to this weekend, it even gives them a little bit of time to write something down that they might want to remember. We also talked about jargon a little bit earlier, Colleen. I would urge, I said, didn't I? I would urge people not to use jargon. One day, somebody came up to me in the conference and she said, I had a terrible, terrible thing happen to me in my consignment shop the other day. We had gone through some lady's clothes and we put aside the items that we weren't going to accept, and we labeled them in our usual way with her name and the date and her number and so on, put them in the back room. Woman came in, staffer went to get the items, handed them to the lady, said, thank you, these are the things we can't use. And the woman got all red, and then she got upset, and then she got really, really annoyed because part of the little jargon that the staff used in the shop was P/U, meaning pickup. And the woman thought it said PU, as in the stuff stank. So be careful of any kind of jargon that you use that way. NARTS changed its name because NARTS sounds funny, so now it's called the Association of Resale Professionals, so it doesn't sound like some fifth grader joke, NARTS. So be careful with jargon.
I didn't know NARTS changed its name.
Well, we used to be the National Association of Resale and Thrift Shops, which is what NARTS stands for. A lot of people felt that having thrift in the name was not to the advantage of shops that weren't thrifts. The thrifts felt offended, that the other people felt offended. So in a PC sort of way, they changed their name to the Association of Resale Professionals, but they kept the NARTS acronym so that people would remember who they are.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, just a little side note, because I have to say it now, is that in the keyword search, when you're doing SEO and keywords, writing Google ads and landing pages and all of that stuff, the number one keyword search actually is the word thrift and the word consignment. Not consignment, the word thrift and the word used, which is really funny because consignment is just not a word that is widely used. The word used.
Even after my 40 years in the business explaining consignment, that's true. So that means, side note again, what Colleen is saying is that thrift is the word that people are looking for. So you better put that into all of your online presence. But that again is another topic.
Another topic. I just had to say that. And Melissa Jenkins is saying yes, dead air is better than yums. And absolutely. And along those lines, if any of you watching have heard of Toastmasters or in Toastmasters, I was in Toastmasters for 10 years, and Toastmasters trains you on public speaking. I went through all the training as high as you could possibly go. And one of the things that you have at every single meeting is there's an counter. So there literally is a person assigned to the job. And at the end of the day or the end of the meeting, the counter gives a report on everybody that spoke and how many ahs and ums. And when you have somebody who uses a lot of ahs and ums, you end up counting the ahs and ums, or maybe you just do if you're a Toastmaster, you end up counting the ahs and ums instead of listening to the message. The other thing is nervous, and women do this all the time, is that we touch our hair or we move our hair, you fiddle or things like that. You really truly shouldn't do that. Really truly. I mean, these are a little bit, really pro hacks and tips here, but it takes away from just you as a presenter, and it takes away from what you're saying. It takes away from your slide presentation if that's what you're using. Anyway, super pro tip, but there you go. What else you got, Kate, on your magical list there?
Well, again, talking to various types of groups. You're going to be talking to a consignor differently than you talk to a customer, differently than you talk to a person who's donating at your back loading dock. So be aware of that. Be aware if you have a habit or your spouse has given you the habit, as in my case, if you're using words which are not socially acceptable. Be aware that you're not going to say those words to people who don't know you really, really well. You're not going to say them in a business setting. You're not going to say them when you're in front of the Mothers Helping Mothers group that you're talking to. Another thing, now I'm counting my ums, damn it. And I said, damn it, too. See, it's so easy to go astray. And on that note, I think we need to let people get back to work, don't we?
We do. I just want to shout out to Ann Condit and Melissa. Melissa is just reiterating everything we're saying. So Melissa's transcribing this morning for us. Thank you, Melissa Jenkins. And everyone have a really fabulous, fabulous week. Those of you coming to I call it the NARTS conference. I didn't know. I've always called it NARTS. So those of you coming to the Association of Professional Resellers and Thrift Store Owners this week, I really look forward to meeting you. Many of us are Facebook friends. We haven't met in person. Please come up and say hello to me. You see me every week. You see Kate every week. We don't get to see your beautiful faces every week. So please come up and introduce yourself and say hello. And let's share a cocktail. Let's share a laugh. Pick our brains, and we'll pick your brains to learn things from you as well. So really looking forward to this week.
And I learned something on Facebook today about a Facebook friend that I just have to say something, as in, happy birthday, Richard.
Yes. If Richard Lloyd Roberts is your tech guy, or you built him a website, reach out to him today, and you can wish him happy birthday. Even he's obviously on this page because he owns the company with me. So Richard Lloyd Roberts is my business partner, and he's my partner in life in all kinds of ways. He's my husband. So definitely reach out and say happy birthday to him. Usually his birthday is during the NARTS conference, so we're very excited this year.
Speaking about during the NARTS conference, if you're there Thursday evening, you have nothing to do before the Getting Acquainted premiere of the conference. From 6 to 8 p.m., we're gathering in the lobby bar to say hello to one another, to get to know one another in a smaller group perhaps. And then at 8 o'clock, I am honor bound by the powers that be, aka Adele and Gail, to shoo you all to the Getting to Know You conference. But between 6 and 8, we'll be in the lobby bar. I'll be there. Perhaps Colleen and Richard will, if obligations allow them to be. So come on down, wear whatever you're wearing, buy yourself a drink, buy Colleen a drink, buy Richard a birthday drink. We'll see you Thursday at the Columbus Hilton Easton. If you're coming to conference, if you're not coming to conference, I'm so sorry. I wish I could see you. But anyway, I love you anyway. So
we love you anyway, and we'll probably do a nice conference recap next week on Tuesday on right here.
That's a good idea. That's a terrific idea.
All right, everyone, have a fabulous week, and we will see you soon. Any party?
Bye now.
Just goodbye. You don't want to end off with your go sell something?
With my mama always said, go out there and sell something. I want you to sell something so that you got enough money to buy Colleen and Richard a drink. So go out there
and you too,
something.
and Kate too. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye bye. See you next time, or see you this week.